I've been trying to pick like the right day to do the filming for Milo Story Part 2. But I have been struggling a lot recently. I am going to be quite broad about the story because there are very intimate moments where I think should only ever exist in my memory and my family's memory. And just in respect of that, I just don't feel entirely comfortable with going into detail about everything. Losing a child is so hard on its own, and with the journey that I have, I just can't imagine not being able to speak about it. I just want to encourage others to be able to tell their own stories. So I woke up on Friday morning, on the 18th. Yeah, the 18th. And I had to be in hospital for around 8 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't really get much sleep that night, of course, you know. I was just still in shock that Milo wasn't alive inside my body, and I was very aware of the fact that this was going to be our last night sleeping with each other, if that makes sense. Even though he was passed away, I just, you know, I was so aware that this was going to be the last time that I was going to be sleeping with a massive bump, with everything that I needed inside of me. So it was a very difficult night. It was very difficult to actually fall asleep because obviously my head was just going 1,000 miles per hour with all these thoughts just attacking my brain constantly. So I found it very difficult to actually get some sleep that night. But yeah, I woke up at 7:30 the next day and I needed to be in hospital for around 8 o'clock. So I had a shower. I just remember feeling like, I don't know, I don't really know how to describe it, but I just remember feeling untouchable, and not in a good way. I just thought, nothing's going to hurt me today. Nothing that I experienced today is going to hurt me more than what I've been through the past 2 days. So after finding out that Milo had passed away, everything that came after that was just, as horrible as it sounds, it was a piece of cake compared to the news that I had about Milo. My body had shut down, so whatever was going to happen with my body in the hospital, I wasn't dreading it at all, to be honest. Yeah, I was just going through the motions. I was still in such shock, in such a huge amount of shock. So I was just going through the motions. I was doing what I had to do. I had a shower, got changed. My mum plaited my hair for me out the way. And I got into the car then, ready to go to the hospital. And they had set up a little private room for me. So I was out of the way of all the other pregnant women. And the most fantastic midwife came in to speak to me, and she told me everything that was going to happen in the day. She gave me my memory box and my aching arms teddy bear, which I'll go through with you now. So she went through, you know, everything that was going to happen, and even though I was in such a huge amount of shock, she said it in a way that I really could take in everything she was saying and take everything on board and prepare myself. Yeah, it was so strange because the moment I just sat on that bed and she sat down to speak to me, I got into mother mode then, and I was like, right, yes, okay, we've got to do this for Milo, we've got to get him out safely. You know, we've got to, you know, this has to run as smoothly as possible because this is the only thing I could do for Milo now. Is to get him out in the least traumatic way possible, basically. I just didn't want it to be any worse than it was. I was just in mother mode. I wasn't in grieving mode yet. I was in mother mode, and I was like, I'm going to get Milo out and I'm going to meet him and I'm going to, you know, make the most of all of this now. I'm going to try to turn this into the best experience I can. You know, make the best out of the worst. But yeah, Caren gave me a memory box. I'm not going to go through the memory box with you. just because it's just so, you know, it's so private to me and so personal. You know, I haven't really showed anyone what's in my memory box, but I just think it's a very personal thing, which I'll always like to look through myself, as everything, you know, means so much to me in this box. So the memory box is from a charity called For Louis. A lady and two parents, Kirsty and Michael, lost their son Louis the 10th of December 2009. So they started up this charity to be able to give everyone a box, a memory box, who have unfortunately lost their child. And they have some amazing things in here, things that really warmed my heart at such a numb and cold time in my life. And, you know, obviously it takes a lot to do that, but the things in here are just so thoughtful. I'll broadly tell you what they do give you. So they give you like a little box to put a wisp of the baby's hair in. They give you a little candle. They give you 2 teddies, one for the baby and one for you, exactly the same, which I thought was such a lovely idea. A little glass angel, which I actually have on Milo's cabinet over there with a picture of him and a candle. What else? Acknowledgement of life certificate. They also have given me, you know, a little card, mum's name, baby's name, delivery date, delivery time, length of baby, weight of baby, and the midwife's name. So that's a nice little card to have in here. Ink prints for your baby's feet and hands. Clay prints as well, which I have on my bedside table, of Milo's feet. Which you can also put a photo in there as well. And also I obviously have loads of like personal things in here, like Milo's last outfit, well, Milo's first outfit, sorry, and, you know, the bands that were used for my monitoring throughout my pregnancy. Has a little muslin cloth in here, his hats, the band that I wore in the hospital, you know, things like that, that are very personal to me and Milo, and that I can really, you know, look at and feel and remember how I felt, you know, in those moments where those things were used. I think the thing that I love the most is that his first outfit is in there, and it smells exactly like him, and the smell hasn't gone, you know, it hasn't faded at all, and he has his own unique little smell, and it's such a wonderful, it's the best smell I've ever smelled in my life. So I think that's my favourite thing, you know, in this whole box, and that's why I'm really touchy about people wanting to go through it, because I don't want his smell to ever leave, and because the smell really takes me back, you know, to the moments where I was kissing him on the forehead and smelling, you know, smelling his skin and smelling him. And it just really does take you back to that moment, so you can relive it, and even though it's so painful, I'd just give anything to go back to those moments. So yeah, having that is really nice. She also gave me an aching arms teddy. So the aching arms teddies are donated from other families who have unfortunately lost a child themselves. This bear is a gift to you from a family who have also experienced the loss of their baby. We hope you find some comfort in holding it in your arms and knowing you are not alone. And what's so brilliant is that when Caren, the midwife, gave me my aching arms teddy, I thought, oh nice, a teddy for Milo, but I didn't really understand what an aching arms teddy was. And then when I looked on the tag then, I realised that this was donated to me from a family who had lost twins called Harry and Oliver on the 11th of November 2014. What's so brilliant about this charity is because when you lose a baby, or you find out you've lost your baby, you feel like the only one in the whole entire world who's going through it, and you feel like the whole world is against you. And I remember walking to the window the morning after I found out Milo had passed away, and it was such a beautiful crisp morning, but I just remember looking out and thinking, you know, I hate the whole world. I hated everything. I hated everyone. I hated seeing the cars go by. You know, I hated that the world was still going on, but my world had stopped completely. And I didn't feel like anyone in the whole entire world could possibly understand how I felt, or have been feeling, or feel now. When I picked up that teddy, and I really did realise I wasn't the only one, and, you know, when I realised that this family had lost twins as well, Harry and Oliver, I felt pain for someone else for the first time, because obviously I was in such a huge amount of shock and pain myself, and then to feel pain for someone else, it kind of took that away a bit. It kind of eased it. I don't know how to say it properly, but it did ease my pain a little bit, to know that I wasn't alone, but in a way that I felt so much pain for this family. And that's why I find the charity so amazing, because it does exactly what it says. It's there to make you feel like you're not alone. And, you know, when I'm in my darkest hour and, you know, there's no one around me to speak to, you know, I just pick up this teddy and, you know, I think about this family. And, you know, when you're in your darkest hour, you really do feel like you're the only one in the whole entire world. And when I hold this teddy, I feel that of the family's pain, and I know that I'm not the only one. So it's obviously a very heartbreaking purpose, but such an amazing charity, and I can't thank these two charities enough for making such a really difficult, traumatic time just that tiny bit easier, because it really does make a difference. It really did. Yeah, so this teddy's actually wrapped up in the blanket, the first blanket that my mum bought Milo. This was before we didn't know whether he was a girl or a boy, so she got him a pink and light blue blanket, but I still love it, and he still would have used it. And this blanket is it's actually the same blanket as Milo was laid to rest in, because my auntie bought me this blanket, and I decided to have Milo rest in this blanket because it said on it, "Sweet dreams, little one," and I just thought, you know, that's absolutely perfect for Milo to be nice and snug in when he's laid to rest. And my auntie actually bought me another one, which really did, yeah, that was a huge gesture for me, because I like to think when I feel this blanket I can feel exactly what he feels right now, and so that really did help a lot. Caren went through everything with me. She told me I was going to have another tablet. You know, my body was just basically just going to have to go with it, and we'd have to see how much I'd dilate, you know, through the day. My cervix would dilate. So yeah, I had a little bit of time to settle in with my family first. You know, all I could really do that morning was, you know, get comfortable in my hospital bed and not take my hands or my eyes off my bump. I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe that this was going to be the last day that I was going to be carrying Milo. And that was my normality, you know. I started this year with Milo, and I was well aware of the fact that this was going to be the last day that I'd carry him. And this was my last day of, you know, a little bit of normality, I suppose. But I suppose it's that knowing that I'm getting one step closer to completely losing him. Completely losing the physicality of him. You know, we put the music channel on, we were listening to the charts. My mum was very good at putting a smile on my face. You know, my family were very much excited to meet Milo. Very much in love. So to see them be able to have the strength to try and put a smile on my face was a huge blessing and a huge realisation of how strong my family are and how brilliant they are. The midwife came in then. She gave me my second tablet, you know, to get the labour process going. This was around... I don't know, I would say this was around midday I had the tablet. So I was there from 8 to 12, so I had a lot of time to settle in. You know, the first 4 hours were very much putting cannulas in me and injections and having my bloods taken, and doctors coming to see me, my consultant coming to see me, midwives coming to meet me, nurses coming to meet me. You know, I had my family around me all day, which was just fantastic, and I wouldn't wish it any other way. Yeah, so yeah, I had my first tablet to get things going. I started to dilate around 2:30 in the afternoon, but I'd only dilated 2 centimetres, so things were going pretty slow. I remember, you know, I wasn't having bad contractions or anything, not yet anyway, but I remember it was just me, my mum and my stepdad in the room, and I just think, you know, I had such bad anxiety about being alone anyway, because there was something a bit unsettling. As much as I hate to admit it, I'm just going to be honest, it was something very unsettling about being left in a room alone with Milo, because, sorry, I found something very unsettling about being in a room on my own with Milo in my stomach because he wasn't alive anymore. Because I'm very much an independent person. I spent most of my pregnancy alone with Milo, and I loved it. I was speaking to him all the time, you know, he was attacking me all the time from the inside out. And for it to be any different, yeah, it was quite traumatic. The thought of being left in a room with Milo, and it was just... it was never going to be the same again. I did think it would have been sensible for me to be in the room on my own with Milo to try and take this all in. So I did say to my mum, you know, you go for a coffee in the canteen and I'll try and soak this all in myself, and I'll just try and process what's happening, because I was still so shocked. You know, I hadn't really, you know, cried, you know, at all that day. So I thought, you know, I need to be in here in this room with Milo when he's passed away in my tummy, and I need to try and take this all in, because I knew I was in a state of shock, and I wasn't believing any of it. So my mum left the room, and I think it took me about 5 minutes to start having a panic attack. You know, I did try and, you know, I was speaking to him, speaking to Milo. But it was quite traumatic to not get it. It was quite traumatic not to get a reaction from him. Because always, when I spoke with Milo in my belly, he'd always be booting me from, you know, he'd always be booting my ribs and being cheeky, and, you know, I think he was telling me to shut up. But I suppose it did hit me on some level when he wasn't reacting. And I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to be alone anymore, so I started to panic, and it was very traumatic. Because since finding out I had lost Milo that night in the hospital, I hadn't been left alone at all. Not even when I was sleeping. So my mum came back then, and then I started to get my first contraction. So it wasn't, you know, a long contraction, it was just a bit of a, you know, a sharp pain. So I just said, oh, you know, I've had my first contraction, you know, things are getting on, you know, things are starting now, things are starting to happen. So they put me on codeine. Yeah, they put me on codeine. They were going to make sure that I wasn't going to be in any pain at all, because of course it was already such a traumatic experience anyway, obviously. You know, they were going to make sure that I wasn't going to experience any pain whatsoever. So they said, you know, when you have your first contraction, tell us and we'll give you painkillers and you won't have to feel a thing. And then I was on morphine as well, so codeine and morphine tablets. I think around this time I was probably about 4. So, you know, it was taking its time. But yeah, my brother, his partner, and Milo's dad came in then. So we just started talking. You know, my brother's a very strong character, my oldest brother. He loves his family, he loves me to bits, I love him to bits. And even though he was in so much pain himself, he was absolutely devastated when he found out about Milo. You know, we all really were. But I really do know how excited my brother was. So he was always trying to make me laugh. He made the day so much easier. I know that's hard to say, but to have my brother cracking jokes all the time, having the strength to crack jokes all the time, just to make the whole room laugh and light up. It turned into quite a special experience in the end. All my family were fantastic. They were really brilliant. You know, the contractions were getting quite intense then. So I think around 5 centimetres they took me up to the labour ward.